It's Thursday, September 25th, 2025. Welcome to the latest happenings inside our federal machine. A federal grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia indicted former FBI Director James B. Comey on 2 felony counts, making false statements to Congress and obstruction of justice. A pro-Hamas leftist terrorist from California was sentenced to 20 years in prison for acts of arson after firebombing a police car and attempting to firebomb the Oakland Federal Building. Also, President Trump met with the president of Turkey today, and they spoke about the trade between the two countries and President Trump's hope that Turkey will lessen its reliance on Russian energy. And also, we have more drama yet again on the incoming government shutdown, hearing from both sides of the aisle. The shutdown is due to begin within 6 days. Also, authorities released more information about the sniper who shot up the ICE facility in Dallas, Texas yesterday. And Megyn Kelly spoke at a Turning Point USA event at Virginia Tech yesterday, where an exchange between Megyn and a progressive student went viral. Many aspects of the economy are doing quite well, but Starbucks announced today that they are laying off 900 employees, and they are also closing hundreds of stores due to a company restructuring initiative. Also, President Trump officially signed the TikTok deal, which will give the majority share of the company to American investors. And there's a lot of other stuff that happened today, so we are going to dig right in. And if you enjoyed the video, please give the video a like and also subscribe to the channel if you have a second to do so. I would greatly appreciate if you have just 1 second to click the subscribe button. And if you have a comment to add to this video, I might just read it on the next episode if you decide to drop one. And basically everything in this video, it's all within the last 24 hours in the swamp. It's basically all swamp related, really. I mean, it almost always is. Pretty rarely will I come across something that's not directly related to Washington, D.C., but I find important enough to talk about in the episode. But I'm going to start with this. This just came out 41 minutes as of this recording. I was doing show prep, and I came through this just because when I'm going through this government list, you know, as I scroll through it during the intro, I just happened upon it. And I'm really glad I did because this is huge news, enormous news, massive news. Finally, something going on in the Department of Justice. Finally, Pamela Bondi is starting to show some results in her ability to be the Attorney General, for fuck's sakes, man. So here it goes. Justice in America. One of the worst human beings in the country has ever been exposed to is James Comey, the former corrupt head of the FBI. Today, he was indicted by a grand jury on 2 felony counts for various illegal and unlawful acts. He has been so bad for the country for so long and is now at the beginning of being held responsible for his crimes against our nation. Make America great again. And damn, is it about time. Remember his daughter, she was in charge of prosecuting Sean Diddy Combs earlier this year, and she completely fumbled around and fucked that up all up and down now, didn't she? She really fucked that up because I don't think he's going to get more than just a couple of years in prison. In fact, I don't even know if that even amounted to prostitution, even though the jury, you know, they deemed it as such. But anyway, whatever. I just wanted to point out the fact that James Comey's daughter, like, she was recently in the news, and that's why. So we'll just have to see what happens. So I don't have a whole lot of information. This just came out. So I did ask Grok to see if there's any info, anything coming from the mainstream news media that it might be able to piece together. And it did. It came up with some info here. So breaking news, former FBI Director James Comey indicted on September 25th, 2025. Today, a federal grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia indicted James B. Comey, former FBI Director, on 2 felony counts, making false statements to Congress and obstruction of justice. The charges stem primarily from Comey's September 30th, 2020 testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee, where he allegedly lied about authorizing leaks of sensitive information to the media, including memos that sparked the Mueller investigation into Russian election interference. Prosecutors also allege he obstructed a congressional probe into the disclosure of classified details. U.S. Attorney General Pamela Bondi issued a statement emphasizing accountability, quote, "No one is above the law." Today's indictment reflects this Department of Justice's commitment to holding those who abuse positions of power accountable for misleading the American people, end quote. The timing follows recent public demands from President Donald Trump for swift action against Comey and other perceived political adversaries. I bet that Adam Schiff, I bet he's feeling a little hot under the collar today, isn't he? I bet he's looking over his shoulder everywhere he goes today. Well, from now on at least, because indictments are hopefully going to be coming down on his ass too. And if there's anybody who deserves it more than James Comey, I would say it's probably fucking shitty Schiff. So here's the indictments here. Key details from the indictment. The charge making false statement, 18 U.S.C. Section 1001. The description is allegedly lying under oath about authorizing Person 3, who is likely former Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, to leak information to the media. And relevant content tied to 2020 Senate hearing questioning by Senator Ted Cruz. Oh, ain't that satisfying to be Senator Ted Cruz tonight. The second one is obstruction of justice. 18 U.S.C. Section 1512, interfering with a congressional investigation into FBI leaks of sensitive information linked to the Russia hoax narrative and Comey's post-firing actions, including the 8647 social media post interpreted as a threat. You remember that when he wrote that? Or he either wrote it in the sand when he was at the beach, or he formed it out of seashells or something like that. But yeah, so... let's see. Anyway, so Comey, who was fired by Trump in 2017, has long been a target of criticism from Trump allies over his handling of the Hillary Clinton email probe and the Russia investigation. No arrest warrant has been issued yet, and Comey is expected to surrender voluntarily for arraignment. The case is being handled by federal prosecutors in Virginia, with FBI Director Kash Patel also commenting on the DOJ's pursuit of accountability. Reactions on X, formerly Twitter, are polarized, with Trump supporters celebrating it as long overdue justice against the deep state, while critics question the political motivations behind the rapid timeline. It wasn't a rapid timeline. This has been months in the making. Actually, years in the making, really. Live coverage is ongoing across major networks, including NBC and PBS. When they say that this is a rapid timeline, look, they're talking about... Wait, hold on. Okay, no, never mind. Yeah, he was fired by Trump in 2017. But look at this. Like, the relevant context is from way back in 2020, dude. Fucking 5 years ago. How the hell is this? Is it a rushed job or anything like that? I know what they're doing. They're making a mention of what Trump's True Social post said the other day, where he was getting angry, feisty toward AG Pam Bondi with regard to all of these people, man, these left-wing actors, these anti-Trump actors who we know broke the law because it's all on the record and nothing's happening. And Trump was simply asking, what the fuck? What the fuck's going on with this? And I just think it must have been maybe good timing, poor timing, depending on how you look at it. Because I'm sure that the grand jury, it was a grand jury indictment, right? I'm pretty sure they said that. Federal grand jury. So I'm assuming she didn't convene the grand jury after Trump got mad at her through a True Social post. I would assume that this grand jury was probably scheduled to convene probably weeks, months in advance, maybe. Probably not months in advance. I mean, usually a grand jury, they don't schedule it months ahead. Usually a few weeks, I would say. At least from what I can say locally. I've never been on a federal grand jury, but I've been on the grand jury with the 6th Judicial Circuit in the state of Florida. And I spent 7 months on the grand jury seeing all kinds of different, a whole bunch of different cases. I think probably, 10, 12 different cases that I saw in total. Handed down 17 indictments for murder in total. So I'm aware of the process of the grand jury, just not on the federal level. But if it's anything like the more local level, then yeah, they usually convene the grand jury within a couple of weeks, I would say, in most cases. Usually about a month, something like that. But anyway, so let me see if there's anything else here. This development marks a significant escalation in post-2024 election accountability efforts. For the latest updates, check official DOJ announcements or major news outlets. Now, they said something was mentioned by Kash Patel. I'm just curious to see if they might have that on here. If not, that's fine. I did see the actual indictment up here. Here it is. So this is from Greg Price in the United States District Court, Eastern District of Virginia. Man, dude, they get this shit quick now, don't they? Stamped September 25th, 2025 by the clerk of the U.S. District Court in Alexandria, Virginia. Criminal number 1:25-CR-272. Let's see. Count 1, false statements within the jurisdiction of the legislative branch of the United States government. 18 U.S.C. 1001, Section A, subsection 2 or Section 2, A2. Count 2, obstruction of a congressional proceeding. 18 U.S.C. Section 1505. The indictment with count 1, false statements within the jurisdiction of the legislative branch of the United States government. On or about September 30th of 2020 in the Eastern District of Virginia, the defendant James B. Comey Jr. did willfully and knowingly make a materially false, fictitious, and fraudulent statement in a matter within the jurisdiction of the legislative branch of the government of the United States by falsely stating to a U.S. Senator during a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing that he, James B. Comey Jr., had not authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in news reports regarding an FBI investigation concerning Person 1. And number 2, that statement was false because, as James B. Comey Jr. then and there knew, he, in fact, had authorized Person 3 to serve as an anonymous source in news reports regarding an FBI investigation concerning Person 1. All in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 1001A2. We've got, all right, so this is going to be count 2. On or about September 30th of 2020 in the Eastern District of Virginia, the defendant James B. Comey Jr. did corruptly endeavor to influence, obstruct, and impede the due and proper exercise of the power of inquiry under which an investigation was being had before the Senate Judiciary Committee by making false and misleading statements before that committee. All in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 1505. A true Bill Lindsay Halligan, United States Attorney, signed the document. Now, one thing that might frustrate you, if let's say that he's going to go on trial. I mean, they just indicted him, so he's heading to trial at some point. So when this happens, of course, it's probably not going to be televised, so I wouldn't get your hopes up with that. This is all federal, and they virtually never let cameras into the courtroom when all this is going down. Remember back to the Diddy trial. Remember that? All those sketches and all that shit, that's what we're going to be getting. Anyway, let's say that he's found guilty. Let's say he goes to prison for, I don't even know like what a good number would be. Let's say 5 years or something, or maybe 10 years or whatever. That's probably like way over the mark. But if he gets 5 years, and let's say, God forbid, that there's a Democrat who becomes president next, on his first day in office, he could pardon him right away and just let him out. See, that's the problem whenever you've got federal government officials, especially those who are just deeply entrenched in the establishment fucking swamp, and they rub shoulders with all the right people, and let's say that they do something egregious and they get locked up for 50 years. It might look politically bad, but it all just depends on whose side they're on. I mean, James Comey, I'm sure he's been a lifelong Democrat. I don't know. I'm just assuming that to be the case. And if they were to lock him up for like 20 years or something like that, all it would take would be a presidential pardon. And I'm sure that there's lots of people in D.C. who are probably under that understanding. Look, if you get caught, we got you. We got your back. Whenever, our next guy gets in, we'll pardon you right away. You might have to spend a few years behind bars, but not the rest of your life, because we'll get you pardoned. And that's the part of the whole corrupt machine, I guess. So anyway, that's it. I know that's a lot, man. Oh, man. So let's see what else we got. So I got something else from Donald Trump that just came out 51 minutes ago from the White House, and it reads as follows. Starting October 1st, 2025, we will be imposing a 100% tariff on any branded or patented pharmaceutical product unless a company is building their pharmaceutical manufacturing plant in America. Is building will be defined as breaking ground or under construction. There will therefore be no tariff on these pharmaceutical products if construction has started. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I have been looking. I haven't seen it, but I don't think the Supreme Court has taken up this emergency hearing with regard to the tariffs. I don't know if that's happened yet. Let me see. I don't care about punctuation. Oh, damn it. I meant to say short answer. Whatever. Let me just do that. All right. So I'll let it do its thing. It's going to take a minute. Yeah, because the tariffs, they're due to expire on October the 14th, man. It's like 2.5 weeks away. Yes. Oh, here we go. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. So, yes, the U.S. Supreme Court is scheduled to hear arguments on November 5th, 2025, regarding challenges to President Trump's authority to impose tariffs under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Again, forgot to put short, but that's okay. Hopefully it'll keep it short. I know Grok likes to get really long-winded. All right, here we go. Yes, lower court rulings striking down the tariffs have been stayed pending the Supreme Court's decision, so they remain in effect until then. Let's go, man. Awesome. I was not aware of that. I honestly was not aware of that. I've been looking for it, but I haven't actually been digging for it. You know what I mean? Like, I've been scrolling through everything in the government day after day after day, just waiting for that to just come across my radar, and it hasn't. I mean, I haven't been actively doing like what I just did here, like checking Grok or checking Google or checking, mainstream news sources or anything until just now. So let me see. I'm just curious to see if they got a date here. September 16th. Okay, so that was fairly recent. I mean, sort of. It was like a week and a half ago. But anyway, I mean, this looks more of like an opinion than anything, but at least that's good to know, though. So in the meantime, yeah, this definitely holds that if you're a pharmaceutical company, you only got a few days until you got to decide whether if you're going to start breaking some ground on American soil or not, or else you're going to have to pay some 100% tariffs on your products. And we'll just have to see what happens with that. I don't know. Brand new announcement. All right, this is from Rapid Response 47 from the president. It's a quote. He met with the president of Turkey today, and they had a sit-down, a discussion. That's what all these people are doing here, hanging out. Looks like Pete Hegseth is there. Vice President Vance is there. Marco Rubio's there. Probably no. I'm sure I could probably, I don't know. Offhand, don't recognize him, but that's all right here. Let's just hit play now.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with President Erdogan of Turkey, and we've been friends for a long time, actually.
Sorry.
Even for 4 years. When I
Sorry,
was
Mr.
in
President.
exile, unfairly, as it turns out. Rigged election, he knows about rigged elections better than anybody. But when I was in exile, we were still friends. That's always
in
a good
exile.
way to find out, test a friendship.
That's one way to put it.
He's a highly
it's
respected
appropriate, I guess.
man. He's respected very much in his country and all throughout Europe and throughout the world where they know him. He's built a tremendous military, powerful military, uses a lot of our equipment. And it's an honor to have him at the White House. We're going to have a lunch together. We're going to have a discussion, big discussion. We do a lot of trade with Turkey, and we're going to continue. We're going to do some additional trade. They want to buy F-16s, F-35s, and some other things, and we're going to talk to them about that. And we're just going to have
he's got
a very interesting
got the fighter jet pin.
Couple of hours. We're going to get a lot done.
I'm assuming F-35, maybe F-22.
And we've had
Looks
a
like an
very good
F-22
relationship for a long time. If you remember, he led Pastor Brunson. He freed Pastor Brunson. Pastor Brunson was put in jail for 35 years before I got there. This was a group that should have stopped it, and the president, after I called him, released him, which was a great thing for our Christian community, our evangelical community. The evangelicals really wanted that. It was very important to him, so I always remembered that. But he released him from 35 years in prison.
Oh, wow. Damn.
And Pastor Brunson now is healthy, happy, and well. And we're very happy about that. But it's a great honor to have the president of Turkey with us. And how are you?
Fine.
Say a few words.
And you?
Great guy.
All right. Guess you don't want to say any words right now. Looks like she's must be his translator, I'm assuming. I was kind of hearing her in the background talking to him. So, all right. So that's that. All real gold back there, isn't it? Isn't that all solid gold all over the Oval Office that Trump had installed? That's pretty cool. And yeah, the whole fighter jet pin. I don't know the significance of it other than he said that they're gonna possibly sell some fighter jets to Turkey, even though they can't sell the F-22. That is off limits. Thank God. Frankly, I think the F-35 should be off limits as well. I don't think anybody should get really any of our fighter jets. Do make your own fucking fighter jets. Don't take ours. I don't know, though. I mean, we do sell them for a shitload of money, but the American taxpayers aren't benefiting from that. Only the likes of, like Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin and all them. They're the ones that are getting all that money. All right. POTUS on Turkish President Erdogan. Erdogan. All right. Another quote.
So
Better off just to play
man.
it.
This is a guy who's
He's a tough guy.
highly
He's a very tough guy.
opinionated. Usually I don't like opinionated people, but I always like this one. But he's a tough one. And he does an amazing job in his country. And we've had tremendous relationships, both having to do with war and having to do with trade. And I guess today we're talking about both. I'd like to have him stop buying any oil from Russia while Russia continues this rampage against Ukraine. And they've been fighting. They've lost millions of lives already. And for what? You know, for what?
Right.
It's disgraceful.
Doesn't make sense.
And I said yesterday,
except Russia wants Ukraine.
Their economy is
that's really what it's all about
right now. And I think it's a shame that they're doing that, killing a lot of people unnecessarily.
Well, and what's kind of ridiculous, though, and I pointed this out, might have been yesterday, that the United States, we're building weapons and we're selling those weapons to Europe, and Europe is taking those weapons that they're purchasing from us and they're handing them over to Ukraine. They're giving Ukraine all these weapons, all these American weapons that Europe paid for. At the same time, Europe is sending billions of dollars to Russia because they're buying Russian energy. Russia is taking that money from Europe and they're funding their own war machine. So Russia is funding both sides. You see how they're playing this fucking game? It's fucking ridiculous.
7,818 people.
Millions of people getting killed.
Mostly military people. They're people and Ukrainians. More Russians, actually, than Ukraine. A little bit more.
Well, you know what? I can't totally fault Europe for that, I guess. I mean, at the end of the day, it is Russia that moved in against Ukraine. I can't fault Ukraine at all for it, or Ukraine for it at all, because, you know, they're their own thing, and they were invaded by Russia. So, I mean, I wouldn't put any blame on them, really. But, yeah, I don't know, man. I just think that everybody should just stay the hell out of it. On the other hand, I guess that would probably mean that Russia would completely take over Ukraine. But then again, you know, that's like, you know, old school bad blood or something like that. I mean, you know, they got a history.
But it's such a waste of human life.
That's not my computer. That is the quality of the video. No way, man. I just got a new computer. That ain't me. It ain't me. All right, so I got one more. Just one more. Only got one more. Reporter, who do you hold responsible for the uptick in left-wing violence? So we got to hear this one. We got to hear what Trump's take is on this.
Who do you hold responsible for the uptick in left-wing violence?
The left.
Radical left rhetoric. The radical left is going.
Please say Democrats, Trump. Please say Democrats. Because it's almost exclusively the Democrats, because they control the mainstream. Well, Democrats, the party may not have full control over it, but they're all in the club together. It's Democrat politicians pushing the rhetoric, which the mainstream media is echoing throughout all of their news media channels, and it just goes on and on and on. A lot of it really gets its start with all these freaking Democrat politicians.
The problem. They're out of control. They're saying things, and they're really dumb people. I mean, I look at Crockett. I look at some of these people.
Say it, dude. Say Democrats.
Very low IQ people, actually. But
they are,
radical left
especially Maxine Waters.
Not the right,
very low
radical
IQ.
Left. And it's going to get worse, and ultimately it's going to go back on them. I mean, bad things happen when they play these games.
Historically, big time.
And I'll give you a little clue. The right is a lot tougher than the left.
Oh, yeah.
But the right's not doing this. They're not doing it. And
no, we're not.
Better not get them energized.
No.
Because it won't be good for the left. And I don't want to see that happen either. I'm the
Hell
president
no.
of all the people. But the radical left is causing this. The radical left Democrats are causing this problem. And it
Thank you
gets
for
worse.
saying Democrats.
It gets worse. And it'll be a point where other people won't take it anymore. And that will not be good for the radical left. And we don't want that.
Nope. And of course, they're going to, you know, read between shitloads of lines with regard to what Trump said. Like, oh my God, he's inciting the Civil War. And God knows what the fuck they're going to be saying. But you know they're going to be picking this thing apart, and they're going to be, quote unquote, analyzing it. What did he mean by the right is really is way strong, and they don't want to wake up that sleeping giant? Well, to tell you the truth, they don't. They really don't, especially the right. I mean, conservatives in this country, I would assume that most firearms are in the hands of conservatives and not on the left or even classical liberals. I know they like guns too. I know far leftists, they like guns too. I get it. However, yeah, I mean, that's not a sleeping giant you want to fuck with. You don't want to poke that hornet's nest. That's for damn sure. And yeah, he's right. We're not causing anything on the conservative side. We're not. We're mourning, for crying out loud. We're trying to pick up the pieces and move on, and they just keep agitating and agitating. And like I pointed out just yesterday, I mean, today is the first day that Florida became an open carry state, first time in 40 years, well, 30, 38, 37 years, I think, since like 1987 or something when they passed that law that made open carrying illegal in Florida unless you're camping, hunting, or fishing. But now, in the great Sunshine State, we're allowed to open carry now. So it's good news. I don't think it's a great tactical advantage. I think it's better to conceal carry. But you can conceal carry handguns without the government's permission in the state of Florida and also in, I think, 26 other states. So, yeah, the Second Amendment has been largely returned back to the people, thank God, except, of course, for the blue states, which is where most of all this leftist bullshit's going on in the first place. I'm just saying, I don't know, man. I guess we'll just have to see what happens. Hopefully things don't keep getting too bad. But anyway, so kind of speaking of which, how about this from Matt Walsh? What have Republicans in Congress actually done with the power and unprecedented cultural momentum they have? Can anyone name their top 3 achievements? Can anyone name one achievement? This got about 50,000 likes. This was actually on, let me see if it's still on there. It was actually on the trending news section. Where is it? Damn it. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm used to mobile. I'm not used to the PC. Yeah, right here. So where? No, it's not there right now. It was here earlier. So it looked like they had moved it. Okay, yeah, forget it. Never mind. Anyway, so I'll just see if anybody had answered that. I believe I left a comment. Maybe not. No, maybe I didn't. I think I might actually have a second Matt Walsh post that I may have commented on, but let's see. So Thomas Sowell quote, well, they've taken a lot of cool vacations. Yeah, ain't that the truth? We're working hard for you. Not a damn thing. Defeated the Democrats. I mean, sort of. Even though the Democrats, they've got the power to shut down the government, dude, and they are. I mean, we need 7 Democrats in the Senate to keep the government open, and obviously they're not playing ball. So we didn't really defeat. Yeah, I guess like in the election we kind of did, but that was more the people, dude. That wasn't really, I mean, yeah, I guess you could give a lot of credit to the Republicans who were running, of course. Anyway, so nope, can't name one. As usual, nothing. The Trump administration is doing all the work. Republicans are not lazy, but they're useless. Yeah, or they're not only lazy, they're also useless. Yeah, I echo that in many ways, for sure. Which is why I'm not ready to jump into the Republican Party. I'm still a no party affiliate, and I have been for years. There's nothing of significance that I can think of. We need MAGA in there. The old Republican way is still in there. Most of them are traitors. Yeah, the establishment, the rhinos. Yeah. Just take a look at the 4 Republicans that decided not to censure Ilhan Omar. You remember that about a week ago? There were 4 Republicans that said, no, she didn't do anything wrong. She's not doing anything wrong. She's perfectly fine. Look, dude, she might end up getting deported because, I mean, from what I read, they found actual definitive evidence that she did 100% marry her brother. It's been confirmed. They got her marriage certificate. And as far as I know, it's an official confirmation that she did marry her brother, which means that she immigrated into the country under false pretenses or illegal pretenses. So I'm pretty sure they have the ability to revoke her citizenship, even though she's an elected official. That doesn't excuse her. We don't live we're not supposed to live in a 2-tier justice system, but I mean, everybody knows that we do. But yeah, I don't know, man. That's going to be really interesting. Could you imagine that? Ilhan Omar getting deported? That'd be hilarious, man. Let's see. Yeah, memes, more memes. Maybe we should ask the House GOP. All right. So anyway, I got a lot to get through, so burning up time. All right, so let's see. Let's go to the next one from JD Vance. Democrats are about to shut down the government because they demand we fund healthcare for illegal aliens. Yes. 154,000, man. 6.7 million just 11 hours ago. Scott Turner, do Dems really want to hurt the American people by halting this economic resurgence with their petty Schumer shutdown? Once again, Dems are putting politics over principles. So this was on Mornings with Maria on Fox Business. It's about a minute or so.
How would you assess the macro story today? Right. Well, the macro story right now is, first of all, that inflation has dropped sharply since President Trump took office. Growth has been very high. We've got industrial production at an all-time high, capital spending up 8% so far this year. Mortgage rates are down in part because of the tariff revenues, down by about 70 basis points. So the typical new home buyer right now is saving $250 a month because of the lower interest rates, because of these policies. And the thing, when we go back and talk about the disappointing Fed policies that the president's talked about, one of the things that I found odd, and Governor Myron has been talking about it, is that economic theorists know that if tariffs have any effect on prices, that it'll be a one-time adjustment, not an increase in inflation. And to have Austin Goolsbee and a lot of the other people that are on the FOMC talking about how inflation is why they're being so restrictive is, contrary to fundamental economic policy, economic theory. And I think that Governor Myron is just pointing that out. And I actually see, watching the Fed people discuss inflation and tariffs over the last few days, that they're moving towards the consensus, which is the economic consensus, that if there were to be a price increase from tariffs, that it would not be inflationary. It would be a one-time movement. And I think that's a good thing if you're optimistic about future rate cuts.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I think the economy on paper appears to be in really good shape. Stock market is exploding. I mean, like the Dow is up at like 46,000. Just 15 years ago, the Dow was only like 6,800, like back in 2009. And right now it's at 46,000. It's ballooned up like crazy. So, I mean, gold is way up. Silver is crazy up. I think silver, last I checked, was like $43 for an ounce. Like only 4 or 5 years ago, it was like 16, 15 bucks. So, yeah, everything's going way up. Even though gold and silver, when it skyrockets, isn't that supposed to signal that the economy is on a downward trend, or it's about to be, if not already in a full, spiral? I don't know. I think people are tapped out. Everyday Americans are really tapped out, is at least about as much as they can be. And if there are some companies who do want to play the whole, we're going to increase our prices due to the tariffs, I don't think they're going to be really met with much cooperation. I think people are just going to simply just not buy any of those products, especially if they're not absolutely necessity level products. So anyway, this one comes from Congressman Mike Lawler. I joined CNN this morning to discuss my op-ed in the New York Post, calling out the hypocrisy among Democrats on the government shutdown, as well as the latest developments in Ukraine, Russia, and with NATO. It's a bit of a long one, but I wanted to include this because it is CNN. He is a Republican on CNN. I don't know really much of anything about Mike Lawler, to be honest with you, so I don't know if he's like one of those establishment rhinos or not. New York 17th District, yeah, he's a rhino. I bet he's probably a rhino. I mean, maybe I shouldn't be that harsh on him just because he comes from New York. Maybe he is from a region where it's, I don't know, America first, maybe. I somehow doubt it, though, but all right, anyway, I'll shut up.
A Republican from New York. Congressman, great to see you this morning. You've got a new
I'm not familiar with them.
in the New York Post out this morning. Well, you say you reject political gamesmanship that hurts the very people we were elected to serve. So what do you think of this new letter from OMB? Does that constitute gamesmanship?
Well, let's be clear about where we are. House Republicans passed a continuing resolution last week to keep the government funded and open. Senate Democrats, of which it will require at least 7 to vote with the 53 Republicans to keep the government funded and pass a bill through the Senate, refused to actually do that. Now, Chuck Schumer, who served as Senate Majority Leader for the prior 4 years, said repeatedly on loop that we cannot shut the government down, that it would be destructive to the American people, that it would cut off Social Security benefits, veterans benefits, that we cannot try to hold the American people hostage.
Oh yeah, man, full stop. Hold on, man. Like I said, he didn't sound familiar just to start off with, but just real quick. Yes, Rep. Mike Lawler is aligned with America First policies. President Trump actually endorsed him as a true America First patriot for securing the border and boosting the economy. So a million apologies, Mike Lawler. My apologies. There's 435 different members of Congress, so it's kind of hard to stay on top of each and every one of them. So, but yeah, so he isn't one of those CNN quote unquote Republican rhinos that you find on the mainstream news that tend to side with Democrats more than anything. Which right out the gate, just how he started this interview, you could already tell that he's not one of those types of rhino Republicans.
That no president could pound the table and demand they get their way. And yet that's exactly what Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are doing. It is fundamentally wrong. I reject it when Republicans do it, and I reject it when Democrats do it. I have voted for every continuing resolution for a reason, because no one wins in a government shutdown. The American people are the ones that lose. The economy,
especially the military,
loses.
law enforcement.
It is wrong. We end up spending more money because of the interest we have to pay on the money that is frozen. So at the end of the day here, we need to pass a continuing resolution. The Speaker has put forth a bill that does that keeps the
Could this dude come off as any less interested than he possibly can?
Government funded through November 21st. So that we can finish our appropriations work.
All right, shut up. My
There is
turn.
not one legitimate reason that Democrats should not support a continuing resolution. They have voted for it every time when Joe Biden and Barack Obama were president. The only reason I could think of is they just don't want to support a continuing resolution with Donald Trump as president,
So back
which
to my
is truly
question.
outrageous when you look at what we have to deal with.
So back to my question, Congressman. Do you support the OMB letter? If there is a shutdown, do you support the idea of using it for mass firings at the agencies?
For mass firings?
What
Yeah,
happens
why not?
every time we've
Are
had
you
a
talking
shutdown
smaller
is that
government?
The executive branch has to make
Smaller government?
determinations
Getting rid of
as
the
to
bloat?
what
Fuck
is
yeah.
essential and what is not.
Of course, they're not
Barack
going to frame
Obama
it that
did
way.
That in 2013, shut down numerous
These are
agencies
permanent. This
and
is a call.
departments,
This is a call
for well
permanent.
over a month, creating
This
havoc.
is a call, Congressman. This is
The
different.
fact
This is
is
different.
we need to
Congressman,
keep
can I get my
the
question?
government open and funded. So, John,
This is a call
there's
for
very
permanent
simple
firings.
solution.
I'm just asking
Senate
if there is a
Democrats
shutdown.
would join Senate Republicans and pass the continuing
He's going to
resolution.
stonewall him. Love it.
What exactly is Chuck Schumer's basis for not passing a clean CR? By the way,
Understand, Congressman?
these are Biden spending levels.
I'm not sure the
and
audio
Biden
is
policy
working here,
riders
Congressman.
in the clean CR.
Because
This
I'm
is
trying
not
to ask
Trump
you.
spending levels
I'm
or
just trying to
Trump
ask you about the
policy
OMB
riders.
letter. I'm
So
just
there
trying
is
to ask you.
absolutely zero
yeah, you can see him
justification on the
talking.
Democratic side to oppose a clean CR.
I like
was
this
asking
guy
about
already.
The OMB letter. I'll try one more time. I think you can hear me. If there is a shutdown, do you support permanent layoffs at federal agencies? Do you support this move? Yes or no?
No, I don't. Again, John, no, I don't support permanent layoffs at these agencies. But that's not the issue here. The issue here is that we actually have a bill to keep the government funded and open. And you should be asking Chuck Schumer what is the valid and legal justification that he has not to pass a clean CR.
Well, this is only a temporary bill. They're going to be voting on another spending bill in like 6 weeks. So it's really ridiculous that Democrats are trying to stand on this ridiculousness anyway. This is just like some just a brief period of time before they get to the next spending bill, as far as I understand.
Go look at my op-ed. I quoted Chuck Schumer. I quoted Nancy Pelosi. I quoted Hakeem Jeffries. Every time there was a clean CR on the table, they lectured Republicans and America about the need to keep the government funded and open. I'm simply saying we have a bill to do that. House Republicans have done that. We can avoid all these layoffs that you're concerned about, John,
I was
by
asking,
passing a clean CR.
I was asking about your view. I was asking about your view of OMB, and I do appreciate you answering that question specifically.
I say he answered it.
A tweet about Ukraine yesterday after President Trump came out and said that Ukraine may be able to get all of its land back. You said, quote, agreed, Mr. President, Vladimir Putin is not our friend. He's a vile dictator and thug. We must stand with Ukraine and our European allies in their time of need. Russia, be warned. Stop effing around.
Fucking around?
Or you'll find out. Love the phrase, F around and you'll find out.
I'm sure
One
you
of my
do,
favorites.
Mr. CNN.
But my question is, what will they find out and from whom? Because I don't think President Trump has issued any new promise of American involvement.
It's called political posturing. It's called him talking shit. That's what he was doing.
What the President said the other day, obviously, is the importance of continuing to fund NATO, our NATO allies, and continue to provide them with the weapons needed. As
Yeah,
we've
well, they
seen,
need to
Russia
pay their
has
fair
had
share.
incursions into NATO airspace. The President has said our NATO allies should...
Well, plus Trump might start changing his mind after that whole debacle with the UN meeting that happened the other day when the escalator suddenly stopped That was sabotage number one. And then number two was teleprompter was shut off for 15 minutes. Sabotage number two. And the third sabotage was that they cut his microphone for his entire speech and nobody in the fucking room heard him even speak. Not even the first lady who was sitting up there in the front row. Even she said she didn't hear a word that he said during that entire fucking speech.
Shoot down those Russian.
Now, I get it. UN, NATO, I get that they're not the exact same thing. I'm just saying, like, I'm sure in some way or another, they're probably, at a minimum, probably loosely intertwined with one another, probably.
Planes and or drones that come into NATO airspace. I've been very clear on this war from the beginning. The failure here was early on. The Biden administration should have put in place secondary sanctions on Russia. And as I have repeatedly said, and the president said again yesterday, our European allies need to stop purchasing Russian gas. You cannot stop a war that you are helping fund.
Damn straight.
We need to cripple Russia's economy. We need to cut off their funding source.
He's 100% right. It makes no sense why they're doing that. I get it. They've been buying energy from Russia for decades. It's just a long established relationship with, you know, getting the energy from Russia. Even though the United States, we've already said that we'll supply the energy. I don't know if we're going to charge extra because we have to ship it or whatever. I'm sure, though, that we can work something out. Maybe we've got some partnership going on with Saudi Arabia where perhaps we can do some, I don't know, business with one another. So then maybe the oil could come from Saudi Arabia instead of directly from us. Maybe we purchase oil from there. I don't even know. I don't know all the inner workings with all that shit. But I think he's got a really good point. It makes no sense that Europe is just dumping money into Russia when they could just be getting their energy from another source, if not from the U.S., from some other ally. It just doesn't make sense to me, and I don't think that they're going to stop. I'm pretty sure Trump mentioned that when he was giving his speech at the UN, and I don't know if they're really putting themselves on a pathway to decouple from Russia energy dependence. Not so sure. Doesn't seem like they are, though.
So that they cannot continue to fund this war, certainly not at the levels that they have. And we need to enact secondary sanctions that cripple the economies of anyone doing business with Russia. The fact is, Russia is the aggressor here. Vladimir Putin is a vile dictator and thug. And everything he has done, along with his allies in Iran and China, have sought to undermine and destabilize the United States, Europe, Israel, and the free world. We need to lead in this moment. I've been very clear on that from the start of this war. And from my vantage point, it is time to enact secondary sanctions. It is time for Europe to stop purchasing Russian gas. And it is time for NATO to take action.
Man, he's heavy-handed against Russia.
Thank you.
All right, there you have it. So that was the interview, CNN. And yeah, my apologies, Mike Lawler. Wasn't exactly sure who you were. I know now. Anyway, from Senate Republicans, Senator Schiff's shutdown demands do not serve the American people. Last Friday, he voted to shut down the American government unless foreign countries get billions of dollars for woke projects and illegal aliens get free health care. They're responding to Adam Shifty Schiff. Donald Trump wants a shutdown. Senate Republicans are following his orders. Democrats want a bipartisan deal to protect families from higher health care costs. The choice is clear. Serve Trump or serve the American people. More hyperbolic language, just more divisive language. Anyway, hopefully indictments are going to be coming down on Adam Schiff any day now that James Comey's indictments are now officially out of the way. Now they can pave the way for Adam Schiff to come up next. Hopefully. Do they actually? I don't even know. Like, do they even make that public? I don't think they do, though, do they? No. I mean, I know that the grand jury meets in secret, but don't they at least give you? Here, let me just check. I don't know if they might actually have a date or anything. I'm assuming they don't, but I can always just check. Let's do short. All right, and I'll come back to that. It's been quick the last few times I've checked it. All right, so Ways and Means Democrats, what the math breaks down to is that 15 million people are going to lose their health care insurance. Oh, no, because of the evil, big, bad Republicans. All right, so we're going to make that video happen here in just a second. Yes, grand juries are actively weighing potential criminal indictments against Senator Adam Schiff. Oh, they're doing it right now. Well, for alleged mortgage fraud, mail fraud, bank fraud, and false statements to financial institutions, based on investigations reported in August of 2025. I want to say, because I believe I read this somewhere, I think he's looking at like the maximum penalty he could be facing is like 10 years or 20 years or so. Not sure if it'll say it or not. Maybe there isn't an exact way to tell. I assume that there is. I mean, if they indict him on all of those charges, then it should be a pretty clear answer. Holy shit! Uh-oh. Max penalties per count. Mortgage fraud up to 30 years imprisonment. No way that's happening. Mail fraud up to 30 years imprisonment. Bank fraud, 30 years. False statements to financial institutions, up to 30 years in prison. Holy shit, man. Could you imagine if he was found guilty on all counts and they sentenced him in consecutive sentences? The dude would never get out of prison. Never again. Wow, man. Adam Schiff, he's facing potentially up to, 120 years in prison? Not that it's going to happen. I mean, come on. We know that ain't going to happen. Anyway, not to say he's not going to get indicted, but, well, I technically didn't really finish that. But let's see. One grand jury is seated in the Eastern District of Virginia, and another in Maryland is considering charges related to his Maryland property. These developments stem from a DOJ probe with Schiff creating a legal defense fund amid the scrutiny. So wow, man. Reported in August 2025. So yeah, they're actively weighing the criminal indictments right now. That is absolutely wild. So I suppose any day now, or maybe even any minute now, we might hear that indictments are being handed down against Adam Schiff. That'd be crazy. So at that point, he'd have to turn himself in, right? Just like James Comey. All right, so let's give this a play. This is hilarious, man. Like just notice the lack of information he actually delivers when he's talking about this. The whole 15 million people losing their health care. Here we go.
What did you find?
Yeah, look, as you said, Mika, healthcare has become the major issue in this shutdown, and for good reason, as I'm going to show you. You haven't heard Republicans say lately, let's repeal Obamacare.
All right, hold on. Healthcare spending cuts by provision. Let's see. EPTC expiration, 27%. Don't know what the fuck that means. Work requirements, 26%. Make it more difficult for states to fund Medicaid, 15%. Limit payments to providers, 12%. Other 5%. What the hell does all that shit even mean? It really doesn't. They've got all this space to explain whatever the hell that these different color code boxes mean.
I don't think, I haven't heard it. You probably haven't heard it because it's not popular to say that. So they've been doing it surreptitiously, piece by piece. They are dismantling Obamacare, and that is what the Democrats are fighting for in this go-round. So
Dude, everyday Americans aren't fucking idiots, man. Obamacare has been getting extremely expensive since it was first conceived. Since they first rolled it out, it's been going up like crazy. I've already mentioned this twice, but just for shits and giggles, I submitted an application for Obamacare back when I was 35 or so. It was 7 years ago. Something like that. I mean, I'm 41 right now, but I'm guessing it was around then. And I applied for it. And to get the same level of insurance that I had before Obamacare started, it was $1,400 a month. And that's without pre-existing conditions. Because I didn't list any pre-existing conditions because, I've technically, I've got a herniated disc in my back, but I didn't put that on there. I didn't want to get into the weeds with all that. I just wanted to find out, an able-bodied, mid-30s man who's got nothing serious going on. How much is it going to cost? $1,400. I'm not going to pay $1,400 for fucking Obamacare. And I don't think hardly anybody would either. It's fucking insane.
Take a look at the numbers. Obamacare started right about in here and with about 45 million Americans uninsured at the time. We brought it all the way down here to 25 million. In other words, 20 million Americans got insurance, largely, if not entirely, because of Obamacare.
Oh, so that's the number of people that have insurance. So that does include people who are not on Obamacare. Oh, and plus unemployment was a lot higher back then. You remember that? Coming right out of the 2008 crisis, unemployment was pretty high for at least a few years. So then, people got back to work. People started getting more insurance. So this isn't exclusively Obamacare. I guess you got to listen carefully to his words. But look at this. This is all just assumptions from this point on. This is all quote unquote projected, which, all right, whatever. I'll just play it out.
And now a combination of changes is going to bring that back up here. And it's going to take away 70% of the people who got health insurance under Obamacare are going to lose it, both because of what's in the big, beautiful bill.
And what is that?
What's on the table right now.
All right, what is that? What is in the big, beautiful bill and what's on the table? He said those two things. What are those two things, sir?
Which I'm going to explain.
Oh,
and
yeah?
You can see it
All
breaks
right.
down to a few pieces. These are the changes made in the big, beautiful bill. That's 10 million of this.
Okay, so those are the two big changes he's talking about. So let's break this down. One big, beautiful bill act, Medicaid changes, plus 7.5 M. The fuck does that even mean? Oh, no, there's changes. And then the other one, ACA marketplace and other changes, 2.5 million. Okay, you're giving us numbers. You're not giving us what's happening. You're just giving us a random number. I mean, I get it. It's not random per se, but it's, it might as well be fucking random.
And now what's on the table for this shutdown would be 4.2 million more people losing their health insurance if the Republicans get their way.
Yeah, whatever. I'll actually repost this because I know I interrupted it a few times. So if you want to check it out, you can go to my profile. It's Spathon, the same as my YouTube my YouTube name, except it's got an N as in November at the end. So, or you can just go straight to Ways and Means Democrats, Ways Means CMTE. And yeah, he didn't give us any information at all. And I'm assuming they cut him off. I don't know why the hell they did. It's almost like they want to deliberately keep their voters as ignorant as humanly possible. I just found that to be funny. Matter of fact, I think I commented to that effect. Notice in the clip, he didn't explain how the big, beautiful bill cut insurance to Americans. He just gave a random number of people without any explanation whatsoever. Basically gaslighting, but without the gas. All right. Anyway, so let's just move on to the next thing. So like the next several posts, I'm just going to run through them pretty quick. They have to do with Democrats and what they're all talking about. They're all in lockstep right now. They're all talking about this Affordable Care Act. The one big beautiful bill is destroying health care. Everybody's going to lose their insurance. Of course, they're not mentioning the whole illegal immigrant aspect of it. They also don't mention the fact that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people are on Medicare or Medicaid, and they're fraudulently getting benefits. They're not supposed to be on benefits for a number of reasons. They could be able-bodied. Maybe they're making too much money and they've been lying over the last X amount of years. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different reasons that they might be getting cut. But of course, the Democrats aren't going to talk about that. They're just going to say, oh my God, 24.3 million are going to lose their health care, which they don't ever explain how. They say the one big ugly bill all the time, but they don't exactly like, okay, dude, which section, which subsection? Like, if you don't want to give us the text, at least give us the page number and give us the paragraph number or something. But of course they don't do that because I think they're full of shit. Anyway, thanks to the Affordable Care Act and enhanced premium tax credits, which are never meant to be permanent, by the way, Democrats delivered health care to millions of Americans, 24.3 million to be exact. Now President Trump and Republicans have a choice. Protect the health insurance of millions or shut down the government. In MA-01, Massachusetts District 1, 29,000 people face higher health care costs. Democrats are ready to negotiate a deal that lowers costs for American families. Where are the Republicans? Because we don't want to give money to your illegal immigrants who you are protecting in your sanctuary cities. All right, so the next one, Nanette D. Barragan. House Republicans are about to let critical healthcare tax credits expire. They already cut billions in Medicaid funding in their big, ugly law. They're making healthcare more expensive and less accessible for working Americans. Republicans refuse to work with House Democrats to find a solution to keep the government open and keep Americans covered. If there is a shutdown, Republicans own it, not us. From Pocahontas, it's sick. The only thing the Trump administration is doing is raising costs and putting Americans' health at risk. Ripping away healthcare from 15 million people, making it harder to get life-saving vaccines. That's a load of horseshit. And actually, RFK Jr. came out and doubled down and said, no, we're not removing any access to vaccines in any way, shape, or form. We're just removing the government forcing people to get vaccines that they don't want to get. The access will still be there. If you make below whatever threshold that it's been for years and years, if you don't make enough money and you qualify, you can still get all those vaccines for free. He said none of that shit is changing. Anyway, gutting clinical trials for child cancer treatment. I'm sure another load of horse shit. Really, point that out in the big, beautiful bill. I would love to know that because I will throw flack at Republicans if that funding was there, if it was reasonable. I mean, if they had like $17 billion going toward it, that's a bit excessive. But look, if there was some funding from the government for child cancer treatment, I don't know, like 20 million or 50 million or something like that. And if that's been the case for X amount of years, yeah, I would have a beef with Republicans with regard to that, especially if they're making breakthroughs and they can actually prove that they're making breakthroughs. Bring the doctors, the researchers in front of the committee, show that we're making actual, tangible, real-world progress with regard to child cancer treatment, and I'm all for it. As long as they're making adequate progress, sure. But I think she's completely full of shit. Anyway, forcing rural hospitals to close. Yeah, we know that's a bunch of bullshit because the One Big Beautiful Bill allocated $50 billion just for that exactly. It's the Democrats who are trying to shut that down. Raising health insurance premiums as well. Anyway, Mark Warner, let's be clear what's going on with the government funding fight. It's about nothing more than the cost of your health care. It doesn't matter if your coverage is Medicaid, employer-sponsored, or from the ACA. If Republicans have their way, your costs are going up. Sheldon Whitehouse, wondering what's on our totally unserious radical wish list? It's affordable health care. God forbid. And Rep. Don Beyer, Republicans and Trump gave each millionaire an average tax cut big enough to give 4 people health care. They didn't have to do that. It was a choice. They chose to rip health care from millions and cut taxes for the rich. Now they're raising health care costs for millions more. Yep. Anyway, moving on. Well, here, let me just take a quick look here. New analysis on the GOP's mega bill's core policy choice. Each millionaire's tax cut is paid for by taking away health insurance from 4 people while reducing healthcare benefits from many workers. Horse shit, dude. I challenge you beyond belief to prove that's literally what they did. No, they didn't. He's a fucking liar, man. That's all these Democrats are good for. They're only good for fucking lying. Anyway, Senator John Hickenlooper, this is intimidation. It does nothing to lower costs for working families, and it is an excuse to speedrun Project 2025. Dude, 2025 is almost over, dumb fuck. We can fund the government and lower healthcare costs. Why wouldn't Republicans take that deal? And Senator Ben Ray Lujan, President Trump's tariffs are raising prices. The Republican budget betrayal ripped healthcare away from families. And now the Republican White House, Senate, and House are steering us toward a government shutdown. Families are paying the price for their cruelty, and the public isn't buying it. Senate Dems are fighting to lower costs, protect healthcare, and keep our government open. Congresswoman Raul Ruiz, MD, we're just days away from a Republican shutdown. Even with the full control of Congress and the White House, they're choosing chaos that working families can't afford. I'll always fight to protect your healthcare, lower costs, and keep the government working for you, and I'll keep you updated every step of the way. So, yeah, by the way, only 19 likes. 66 likes, 75 likes. I mean, nobody's paying attention to these idiots. 19. Let's see. Sheldon Whitehouse usually gets a fair amount. Mark Warner, 484. Yeah, kind of on the lower end. Elizabeth Warren, that's actually kind of low for Elizabeth Warren, to be honest. Only 8 from her, only 7 from this dude. So yeah. Anyway, but still, this is just. I'm not looking for viral posts or anything. I'm just looking to show you that all of these Democrats, these are all posted today. They're all in lockstep. They're all talking about how Republicans, they're deleting all of our health care, which isn't true at all. I mean, it may pertain to illegal immigrants. Yeah, we're taking health care from them. I'm sure that's in the One Big Beautiful Bill, but I'm sure most Americans are all in favor of that because 78% of Americans are in favor of mass deportations. All right, so I got this from the U.S. Department of Justice. Domestic terrorist sentenced to more than 19 years in prison for firebombing University police car and attempting to firebomb Oakland Federal Building. Quote, this domestic terrorist could have taken untold lives had his violent attacks been more successful. And using the evils of Hamas as motivation speaks to his depravity, said Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Quote, he will have many long years in prison to think about his crimes, and the Department of Justice will continue prosecuting political violence across America. And I'll link this for you if you want to check this out. If you want to get into the nitty-gritty details of this person's sentencing, this terrorist, Casey Robert Goonan. He's a goon. That's funny. 19 years from Oakland, California, of course. Yeah, so he's going to be sitting in jail for quite some time. I mean, it's satisfying, man. It's good to see that. Dude, there were people who were, I know there was one in Minnesota. Some lady, she threw a Molotov cocktail into a police station that was open, and she got, fucking probation. That's all she got. She got fucking probation for that, for firebombing a fucking police department in the middle of the George Floyd riots. The Black Lives Matter and defund the police. All right. Anyway. Okay, yeah, so we already got through that. From Secretary Kristi Noem, Delilah Coleman's tragedy was entirely preventable. This is sadly another example of Gavin Newsom's California DMV issuing an illegal alien a commercial driver's license. So yet another instance where blood is on Gavin Newsom's hands. So how many more innocent people must become victims before Gavin Newsom stops playing games with American lives? DHS is working around the clock to remove dangerous aliens like Singh, who have no right to be in the U.S. And she is responding to the Department of Homeland Security. This was posted 9 hours ago. Delilah Coleman's life was forever changed when an illegal alien driving an 18-wheeler slammed into her and her family. The crash resulted in her inability to walk, to talk, eat orally, or even attend kindergarten as planned. She was in a coma for 3 weeks and required 6 months of hospital treatment before her family could bring her home. On June 20th of 24, Partap Singh, an illegal Indian from India, caused a multi-car pileup while driving a commercial 18-wheeler in the sanctuary state of California. Governor Newsom's Department of Motor Vehicles issued him a commercial driver's license. On August 29th, ICE arrested Singh in Fresno, California, pursuant to a warrant for his arrest. Singh will remain in ICE custody pending immigration proceedings. I mean, I assume they're going to lock his ass up in prison, right? I assume that's going to be the case. So here we got a video of that. We'll take a look at this from Fox News.
Immigrant who allegedly caused a multi-car pileup while driving an 18-wheeler. That crash last year severely injured 6-year-old Delilah Coleman.
Absolutely horrible, man.
Critical and life-altering injuries. And her parents join us now, Marcus Coleman and Ileana Kraus. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sorry for what you and Delilah are going through. Marcus, could you start us here and just explain what happened and how your little girl has suffered after this?
Oh, I'm sure it's been
Good
horrific.
Yeah, she was involved in a vehicle accident last year on June 20th. And she was on her way to Victorville. We had a heat wave here in Bakersfield, 112 degrees that weekend. So she went up there to go swimming. And there was construction on the highway that she was on. They were at a dead stop. Multiple vehicles were sitting there waiting. And what they did was they closed off one lane to open up another lane and let traffic travel through one lane at a time. And the semi-truck failed to stop, smacked her vehicle first, as well as went through 4 other vehicles before coming to a complete stop. And my daughter was airlifted from Adelanto area, the Highway 395, all the way to Loma Linda.
Which, by the way, getting airlifted is at a minimum $50,000. It's extremely expensive, which I think everybody knows that. And you can only imagine how much it would have been in California. Probably $1 million air flight.
Hospital where she stayed there for about...
Which is illegal. He's not going to pay for that.
And she was in a coma for about 3 of those weeks.
She's a beautiful
that's horrible,
child. Man. Ileana, can you tell people a little bit about what she's going through in terms of...
I was going to say, hopefully she makes a full recovery.
...injuries and the fact you have 2 other young children as well, and sometimes they're getting ahead of her.
Yes, we have a 3-year-old and an almost 2-year-old, and it seems like they're advancing a lot faster than she is at this point. She's receiving physical therapy, occupational therapy.
She is in a wheelchair.
She hasn't said much since the accident.
Oh, wow.
Maybe 2-3 words. She has a TBI. She is not now diagnosed with cerebral palsy and global developmental delay. She doesn't walk. She receives nutrition through a G-tube.
Right.
Good grief.
Right
she's
now,
going through
we're
a
not
lot.
very sure. Yeah, she's going through
Marcus,
a lot.
so somebody was arrested. Can you tell us about...
Yeah, I was to say, what the hell is the state of California doing? I have a feeling absolutely nothing.
What you know in terms of who he is, and a little bit, please describe your attempts to get the attention of your governor.
Well, when the accident first happened, we had reached out to several parties. We reached out to the governor's office. I sent them several messages to their office via email. I called over there several times. I didn't get any response or anything like that.
Of course not.
Pretty much like anybody inside the situation where we didn't know which way to go, who to complain to, or anything like that.
I mean, really, it should be your state rep. Like maybe your state senator or your state representative. I would probably go through them first. I mean, I think that would probably be the right channel to take and then go from there. But that's exactly what your state rep should. I mean, that's what they're there for. If you've got something going on of this magnitude, I mean, I would be wondering where the hell they were. In fact, with this being, I'm sure this was a big story when it first happened. It's a horrifying tragedy. You would think that his and her state rep would have reached out to them and been like, we're looking into it. Call my office if you have any questions, that kind of thing,
A lot of people were kind of taken back that we were trying to reach out to the governor, like there was anything that he can do. We didn't know what could be done. But the driver was a 19-year-old or 20-year-old at the time. I think he had just turned 20. Here in California, you're allowed to get your Class A license at 18 years old as long as you drive within the state, which me as a truck driver myself, I've been truck driving since 2017, and I've never been on board with an 18-year-old having a commercial driver license.
Yeah, that's kind of
for reasons like this right here.
A little early.
No, we never did receive anything back from the governor. We never received a call back. We never received a.
I mean, does he even speak English? Probably not.
We didn't receive anything.
Even
and
a courtesy.
I actually sent them a letter. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. And I sent them a letter to several news agencies, and even outside news agencies didn't want to pick this up. To them, it was, this is, a Southern California issue. Why are you reaching?
Yeah, it doesn't fit their narrative, man. I think that it's probably crystal clear to them at this point that, it just doesn't fit their left-wing narrative that illegal immigrants they're even better than Americans. They're like the tip-top elite of all the elite human beings on the planet. They should get the ultra special treatment.
Out to us here in Sacramento, and in the letters to them, I stated, I was like, this isn't a shooting in East LA or a hurricane on the coast. This isn't anything. This is a truck driver that drives all over the United States, and this can happen anywhere where there's a road, and I sat there and I kept sending these out, and I didn't get any response. And then all of a sudden, the accident in Florida happened, and I got 3 news agencies that looked me back up and called me just to see if they were related, if the driver of my daughter's accident was the same driver as the accident that happened in Florida. And I was like,
and when he says no, they're like, oh, okay, all right, never mind. And then what? Nothing?
Oh no, because the last names were the same. I was like, no, it's not the same guy. And they're like, oh, okay. And then they just dropped the story.
Oh my God, dude.
Well,
These fucking savages,
your
man.
Story. It's really deeply affected me and Bill as we read about it and learned more about it. I admire your strength. I just want to read one thing to everybody here. This is from Kristi Noem. She said that this is sadly another example of Gavin Newsom's California Department of Motor Vehicles issuing an illegal alien a commercial driver's license. How many more innocent people must become victims before Gavin Newsom stops playing games with American lives? Ileana, let me give you one more chance to just close us out here.
Absolutely sue the state.
In the time that we have, and you
Not
have
sure if they'll
everyone's
win,
attention.
but
what do you want people
they should.
to know about your sweet daughter?
She didn't deserve this. She was a very sweet girl, and she still is. And you could see that light of her still shining through, but we miss who she was.
And you need some help. She needs a lot of care. And I know that
She
you're doing
does.
a lot
She
of
has
it,
a lot
but
of
it's not
therapy.
easy to do it all on your own.
Wheelchair. It's not. He has to take off work so many times throughout the week just because I don't have the strength to lift up a wheelchair on my own.
Yep.
Like you stated, I have 2 smaller children, and it's hard. This is not how we imagine life.
You don't have a GoFundMe
Well,
or a
thank
Give Send
you.
Go or
And we'll
anything?
keep your story front and center.
Yep.
Hope you get an answer from the governor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
now.
absolutely would not count on that. Tragically and just awful. And honestly, if they sue the state of California, I bet California will fight back against them too. That's how fucking depraved they are there. Unfreaking believable. Well, we got the attention, or, we were able to see it, at least, thanks to Fox News. And, I saw that and felt it was worth sharing, for sure. Let me see. Oh, yeah, okay, so let's go back to the list here. And we're going to move on to the next thing here from DNI Tulsi Gabbard. Exceptional work by our team at ODNI Gov, National Counterterrorism Center, who are working hard every day with our U.S. interagency partners, law enforcement, and Mexican law enforcement to defeat cartels and keep the American people safe, secure, and free. Great job, NCTC Kent. That is, Director of the National Counterterrorism Center under the leadership of the President and DNI Gabbard. All right. So, replying to his post, thanks to POTUS, cartels are finally being treated as terrorists. ODNI Gov's NCTC recently provided intel to Mexican law enforcement partners that led to the arrest of Martha Alicia Mendez Aguilar, known as La Diabla, a CJNG cartel-affiliated baby trafficker in Juarez. Her network lured pregnant women, carried out illegal C-sections, harvested organs, and sold newborns. Holy fuck, man. Just one example of how far these terrorists will go to diversify their revenue streams and fund their operations. Yeah, no shit. Long gone are the days where they just, were slinging drugs. I could not be prouder of our team and partners at CBP, U.S. Marshals, State Department, FBI, and DHS. Read more about the efforts behind the arrest of La Diabla here. Yeah, don't mind if I do. I'll link it in the description if you want to check it out. Let's see what it'll start with. DNI.gov. So if you check that down in the description, you want to read about that. There she is right there. An evil-ass woman, man. Harvesting organs, cutting babies out of pregnant women. That's so fucked up, man. Absolutely ridiculous. All right. Yeah, a wise man once said they aren't sending their best. Yeah, ain't that no doubt. Oh, yeah, the millstone. Let's see, who were the buyers? The infants were sold to couples in the U.S. for as much as 250,000 pesos, or roughly 14 grand each, according to senior intelligence officials. Wow, man. I mean, it also kind of begs the question, the hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrant children that are missing, where are a lot of them? I mean, that's a horrifying thought, man. All right, from Homeland Security, sanctuary politicians have demonized federal law enforcement as the enemy, placing a target squarely on the backs of the brave men and women of ICE. Hateful anti-ICE rhetoric costs lives. Stop now before these lies damage more innocent people. And from FBI Director Kash Patel, FBI Dallas and FBI HQ have been working 24/7 to seize devices, exploit data, and process writings obtained on location and in the subject's person, residence, or bedroom. This, by the way, is in reference to the ICE shooting from that far leftist sniper who wrote anti-ICE on one of the rounds that they found at the scene. He was shooting from next door on the roof of an immigrant attorney's office, firing into the ICE facility, specifically into an ICE van. And after he fired off a number of rounds, he turned the gun and he offed himself. And they found him up there on the roof. So what Director Patel's saying is that they're combing through his info, his background, his phones, and all that. So anyway, it continues. This FBI is committed to providing timely updates as promised. Let's see. Number one, the perp downloaded a document titled Dallas County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management, containing a list of DHS facilities. Number two, he conducted multiple searches of ballistics and the Charlie Kirk shot video between September 23rd to 24th. And between August 19th and 24th, he searched apps that tracked the presence of ICE agents. And number four, one of the handwritten notes recovered read, "Hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror to think, is there a sniper with AP rounds on that roof?" End quote. That's really messed up. And then finally, further accumulated evidence to this point indicates a high degree of pre-attack planning. The FBI will provide further updates when able. So, I mean, that's absolutely insane, man. Is the mainstream media finally going to concede that one of these shootings is from indeed a fucking far leftist? No. What they're going to do, they're just going to bury the story altogether. I doubt they're even talking about this at all. Especially finding a handwritten note in the dude's handwriting saying that hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror. Yeah, that absolutely should be investigated as an act of terror, even though he's dead. Still, who did he know? Is he in with, let's say Antifa, for instance? Like, who is he connected with? Did other people know that was going to happen? Meanwhile, they're investigating to see if Charlie Kirk's shooter, if he was connected with other people. Now they've got yet another person. Which I think they said that was the third shooting that had happened in over the last 3 weeks or something like that. So anyway, Caroline Levitt, 3 months ago, CNN irresponsibly gave free publicity to an app that recklessly shares the location of ICE agents. This is also pertaining to the shooting at the Dallas ICE facility. It has now been revealed the leftist lunatic shooter who opened fire on the Dallas ICE facility was using one of those apps. The liberal media is complicit in the increased threats and violence against ICE. We see it every day. They are quick to write a fake story portraying ICE in the negative light, often omitting the real facts of these cases, and they hardly ever write about the vicious criminals that ICE is arresting every day to make our country safer. And by the way, when I first started doing this daily episode, for the first few days, I was actually showing posts and images of these ICE detainees, these violent criminals, and time again, murderers or rapists or CP, if you know what I'm talking about, children crimes, things of that nature. But every single day, it's just more and more and more. And then just eventually, I was like, well, like there's other things that I got to cover as well. So, I mean, if it's a slow enough day, I'll throw a few on the list. But it's every single day. Like if you go to ICE, if you go to their X profile or Homeland Security, CBP, they're sharing images of that stuff all day, every day. Like dozens and dozens of dangerous illegal immigrant criminals that they keep arresting. But anyway, the CNN Business headline reads, "I wanted to do something to fight back. This iPhone app alerts users to nearby ICE sightings." Yeah, that's obviously, could very, very easily be used for nefarious means, to say the least. And so Caroline Levitt, she was responding to FBI Director Patel's, which I already went over, so we'll just move on. And coming from the New York Post, anti-ICE shooter Joshua John used a Nazi battle rifle in deadly attack, says experts. So who are the Nazis again? Sounds like the left are. They've literally got Nazi weapons that are actually from Nazi Germany that he was using to shoot at CBP. You can't make this shit up. It's unfucking believable. So we'll check out some of this article here. Let's see, from the New York Post. You know what? Actually, if they've got a video on it, I'll just play the video. Who is Joshua John, the crazed anti-ICE sniper who opened fire on a Dallas migrant facility? Yeah, I suppose we'll give this a play. And I'll link the article if you want to read it. No, you know what? Let me just read through it. It's just going to show pretty much the same thing anyway. The anti-ICE gunman who killed one person and wounded two others at a Dallas ICE facility appears to have used a variant of a Nazi battle rifle in the attack. Multiple firearms experts tell the Post. Joshua John, 29, used an antique 8mm Mauser rifle when he opened fire on a bus that was unloading at the Federal Building, the FBI confirmed on Thursday. Authorities say he obtained the rifle in August. Wasn't that the same style? Wasn't it a Mauser that Charlie Kirk's shooter also used? And that rifle was from like the World War I era. I think I got that right. Maybe not. Drop it in the comments if you remember. The 8mm Mauser is a bolt-action rifle originally developed in Germany in the late 1800s and served as one of the main weapons used by Berlin in both world wars. The most famous model is the Karabiner 98K, which is used by Nazi forces and was touted to be the best general-issue rifle in the bloody conflict before semi-automatic weapons dominated the battlefield. John left behind a stripper clip of 8mm Mauser ammo with one bullet inscribed with the words anti-ICE. The 8mm Mauser was one of the main weapons used by German troops in both world wars. So there's images of them here, and then obviously them in use back in World War II. German soldiers carrying Karabiner 98K rifles in Berlin in 2017. And is this the actual one? Oh, no. The Mauser bolt-action rifle used by Charlie Kirk assassination suspect Tyler Robinson. It's almost as if they are connected, isn't it? They used the same brand. They both used Mauser, and both of these shootings involved antique rifles. That's a bit weird. It's almost as if these leftists, it's almost like they don't know how to purchase firearms, or they can't qualify to purchase a firearm because they have a mental illness. So what they do is they raid their grandparents' freaking gun cabinet, and they use that to commit these atrocities. That's what it sounds like to me. Because I'm sure he didn't go to no freaking gun shop and bought this thing. There's no way. So I don't know, man. Anyway, the German-designed gun is also strikingly similar to the hunting rifle used to kill Charlie Kirk earlier this month. Tyler Robinson is accused of using his grandfather's .30-06 rifle, which also has a German Mauser bolt action, to shoot Kirk from about 200 yards away. Very, very, very interesting. Both guns have to be cycled manually between each shot, unlike modern assault rifles, which are semi-automatic. Assault rifles, New York Post, come on, man. They're rifles. They're semi-automatic rifles. Let's see. John killed one detainee and injured 2 others in the shooting. Those are the bullets that were found, the rounds that were, connected together, which you just fire. Well, I don't know, man. Bolt action. I assume that they all 5 go in, don't they? Isn't that how that works? I don't know. I don't know how a Mauser works, to be honest with you. Never used one. Let's see. Who are these people dusting off museum shelves for guns? One gun expert wrote, or who spoke to the Post quipped. I'm telling you, man, they're raiding their freaking grandparents' gun cabinets. That's what it sounds like. These like unhinged leftists, they probably have documented mental illnesses, which means they can't get approved for a gun even if they wanted to. However, maybe they could. Maybe they just don't have any money, or maybe they just don't understand the process. Maybe they're just too scared to walk into a gun store. Who knows? Who knows? Following their use in world wars, the Mauser became a common weapon used by European and North American hunters, with buyers touting it as ideal for mid-sized game hunting. The 8mm rifle is among the many antique Mauser rifles in circulation across America. Or maybe this dude's great-grandfather took it off of a dead Nazi. I mean, that could also be very possible, too. Didn't they let soldiers, take shit off the freaking, the Nazi soldiers, and they took it home with them as souvenirs? John obtained the gun he used in the shooting in August, according to authorities. Car left at the building where John committed the mass shooting. It'd be that one there, I'm assuming. And let's see, John's body being removed from the scene of the shooting by medical examiners there. Looked like a heavy dude. Fat boy. John's brother, Noah, said the gunman knew how to use a rifle, but claimed his sibling wasn't a very good shot. Well, I think that's quite clear. I mean, he was a good enough shot to still kill somebody, which he did, and he also injured others. So, not to downplay it in any way, he still killed someone who is otherwise an innocent human being. I get that the illegal immigrant was here illegally, but he didn't deserve to get fucking killed. Absolutely not. John's brother Noah said the gunman knew how to use... Okay, I already said that. So he's not a marksman. He would not be able to make any shots like that, John told NBC News. You think he would have kind of perfected his shooting skills if he's going to go and do something like this. I mean, thank God he didn't. I'm just saying, this is the level of intelligence that we're dealing with here on the left. They're not exactly the sharpest knives in the freaking drawer. Officials said John fired indiscriminately at the bus that was unloading detainees out of Sallyport, striking 3 migrants. No ICE officers were injured in the shooting. John died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound at the scene. And one of the first things that the left started saying when this came out, they said, no, he must be ultra MAGA because he was shooting illegal immigrants. He wasn't aiming at the ICE officers. He was trying to kill illegal immigrants because he hates illegal immigrants. It's like, dude, you have got to be fucking kidding me. And on the rounds, it literally said anti-ICE, and combing through his background, dude's a far leftist. At least that's what all the signs appear to be. All right, so I think I got one more here. Yeah, so we got new details emerge on the suspected ICE shooter, Joshua John. I don't even know if I'm even saying his last name right, but whatever. I'm going to keep saying Joshua John. This is from Libs of TikTok. Notes on a game plan of attack against ICE. He called ICE people showing up to collect a dirty paycheck. He intended to maximize lethality specifically against ICE personnel. He hoped his actions would give ICE real terror of being gunned down. Hoped his actions would terrorize agents and interfere with their work. Called immigration enforcement human trafficking. Expressed hatred for the federal government. Democrats and the fake news media wanted to deny the truth. The shooter was a far left anti-ICE terrorist. And that is what he was. 100%. And this is on CNN. So let's see what CNN has to say, because I haven't seen the mainstream media report on this instance. I've just read what I've read over the last day. So it'd be interesting to see what CNN's take might be on this. And this was Libs of TikTok who shared this, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be really interesting, probably.
FBI agents executed a search warrant at the sniper's residence yesterday.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe this is just, just an update from the officials. I was expecting to see like a back and forth or one of those like stupid ass like 9-person roundtable bullshit things that they do on CNN. Maybe not.
And there found a collection of notes. First, I want to point out that one of these notes or papers the sniper explicitly states, yes, it was just me. That statement appears to be correct at this point in the investigation. Notably, these loose notes included a game plan of the attack and target areas at the facility. He called the ICE employees people showing up to collect a dirty paycheck.
Ooh.
He wrote that he intended to maximize lethality against ICE personnel and to maximize property damage at the facility. He hoped.
So he's not ultra MAGA. He's not an American First right-wing conservative. No, he wasn't shooting at the immigrants. He was shooting at the ICE agents. Okay, Democrats?
To minimize any collateral damage or injury.
Surprised CNN didn't cut away from this yet.
And any other innocent people. It seems that he did not intend to kill the detainees or harm them. It's clear from these notes that he was targeting ICE agents and ICE personnel. The tragic irony for his evil plot here is that it was a detainee who was killed and 2 other detainees that were injured when he fired into the Sally Port. He also hoped his actions would give ICE agents real terror of being gunned down, and he did this to induce constant stress in their lives. He hoped his actions would terrorize ICE employees and interfere with their work, which he called human trafficking. And this, what he did, is the very definition of terrorism.
It is, 100%.
Again, his notes reveal, yes, it was just me and my brain. And he said, good luck with the digital footprint. And of course, we take this to mean that he deleted evidence.
Yeah, which is absolutely hilarious because, yeah, only a leftist would assume that because I clicked on the delete button that it's truly gone. Like, they can't recover all of the information. You know how many times that you would have to fill up your hard drive and delete it? It's like 30, 40, 50 different times that you would have to completely fill up your hard drive and delete it unless you had special deleting software like BleachBit or something like that. Acid washing, Hillary Clinton.
From his devices. His words were definitively anti-ICE. That said, we did not find evidence of membership in any specific group or entity, nor did he mention any specific...
No, he's a member of the left-wing mainstream media cult. That's what he's a member of. He gets all of his consumption from these mainstream media psychopaths and also the publications, the newspaper websites and all that shit. That's where he's getting all radicalized from. That and probably, I don't know if he was in college. College professors would be another one to look at.
Government agency other than ICE. Among his papers, though, was a handwritten note in which, in crude words, he expressed his hatred for the federal government. Finally, I want to address the heroism of our federal agents yesterday. While under fire, ICE agents and ATF agents who were also present in the facility's Sallyport area worked together to remove detainees from the vans and get them to safety.
Wow, under fire too.
The bullets were flying.
Good grief.
These agents were heroic, clearly willing to lay down their lives to save the lives of the detainees in their custody. And that's an extremely important point to make at this point in time. I want to express my deepest appreciation for the bravery of these law enforcement officers yesterday and every single day that they go out there to keep us safe.
Yep, and they're human beings. They're fathers, they're mothers, they're brothers, they're sisters, they're family. They're fucking Americans, man. And that's what's so infuriating on how they're being treated by the left. Just because they're enforcing the law that's been in good standing for however many, probably over a century at this point. If you come into the country illegally, you're going to be deported. And that's the way it's been probably since before any of us has been born. So anyway, I got something here from Chuck Schumer. My heart is with the victims and families impacted by the shooting in Dallas. The violence in our country must stop. We need better laws on guns. Oh, we need better gun laws. We all have to do more, as if there were gun laws in place that this dude could not have possibly gotten a hold of almost certainly his relative's Nazi rifle that's probably been in his family's possession for the last like 70, 80 years. I mean, what the fuck's he talking about? I mean, it just getting political as usual, standing on the graves of the dead to chant on about gun laws when it doesn't have to do with that. It has to do with his mental illness. It has to do with him getting radicalized by fucks like you. Anyway, let's play this.
Everybody, right, left, center, I don't care what your politics are, has to speak out strongly. But we need better laws on guns. It's become almost every day one of these things happen, and we can't just sit there and do nothing. We all have to do more.
Unfucking believable.
We all have to do more, and we have to do something real. So much.
Yeah, you need to do something besides calling freaking ICE the Nazi Gestapo and the secret police and all that bullshit. That's what's radicalizing these fucking people, you asshole. Anyway, I'm not going to give him the rest of it. If you want to check it out for yourself, it's on his fucking page. Anyway, I don't even know if I even commented about this. Probably not. Oh, yeah, I did. Anyway, I say guns aren't the problem, you evil man. Your party's constant violent rhetoric against all law enforcement is the primary driver for this left-wing terrorist attack. You have become your own worst enemy. Yeah. And I stand by that. All right. So we're going to head on to Secretary Kristi Noem. The media refuses to tell the truth about the violent criminal illegal aliens ICE is removing, like the monster who strangled and killed a precious baby girl while demonizing the men and women risking their lives to stop them. The men and women of ICE are heroes. This is on CNN yet again, man. It's a CNN kind of night.
To see these Democrats denounce these criminals, these individuals that are out there trafficking drugs and trafficking our children, raping our girls and boys and selling them, and people that are out there committing criminal acts.
And a lot of them are.
Robbing and murdering individuals. I haven't seen these Democrats do that, and they should.
No.
Gavin Newsom should. Tim Walz should. They should denounce these activities. Crockett. We should have all.
No, they call them innocent, undocumented citizens. They call them undocumented American migrants. That's the fuck they call them.
Stand up and say enough is
Not
enough.
hardened career
American
criminals.
Citizens deserve safety, and we're not going to stand behind any criminals and support them over our law enforcement officers.
But as the DHS secretary, would you say that Democrats are a domestic extremist organization? Yes or no?
Oh, you're so fucking retarded. I would say you're inching pretty damn close to it. You're getting pretty close to it. Wait, did she say an extreme domestic terrorist organization? What the fuck, lady? I don't know. Do you want to be one? Because clearly it sounds like you want to be one.
Views are extreme and they don't align with the American people at all.
No,
And
I want a yes or no.
wish that our media, and I wish reporters like you, Caitlin, would talk about the victims every day that we interact with, that we send you the stories on, that you refuse to tell, about the poor little girl and baby that was strangled yesterday by an illegal criminal and died.
Wow.
He died overnight. That was the first news I got this morning when I got up at 4 a.m. Then the next news that I got was that the media had reported that a father had
But
his
are we
child
extreme
taken away from him,
terrorists?
when in all reality, this poor little autistic girl was abandoned by her father.
But CNN
Yeah, the words are going in here and they're going right out the other end, and she's going to say, yeah, but are we terrorists, though? I of course, she's not going to say it, but she really wants to say, well, I don't give a fuck about all that. I just want to know if we're all terrorists now.
report that, right, Secretary Noem?
But, you know,
Wait. So she's saying, so you're saying that you don't support us being called radical terrorists? Dude, we're calling your language terroristic in nature. We're not calling, look, yeah, I think it might get to a point. I mean, we're not going to officially designate, I wouldn't think, the Democratic Party as a terrorist organization. However, the rhetoric that they're spewing is starting to walk pretty close to that line,
you know
though.
what, Caitlin, just if you guys would just tell the truth about what these criminals are and what they've done in their history.
We tell the truth.
And make it
No, you don't. Fucking liars.
That'd be fantastic. We send out about 5 or 6 different press releases every day correcting stories, and
All
I'll
the
send you
time, and I read
copies of
them.
the ones that you've gotten wrong that we've been able to correct. But these law enforcement officers are being demonized, and
Yes, they
should
are,
be
by
supported
you
because they have families
and
too, and they
your
live
network.
in these communities. Their kids go to school there. Their spouses go to work, and they
Yeah,
want
they
to
live in your
unite
neighborhoods, asshole.
to make their community and their city safer.
Oh my God, dude. These people are just fucking scum of the earth, man. They're so fucking evil. Just the way, like, oh, so like, are you gonna say that we're like terrorists now because we're using rhetoric to paint ICE as Nazi fascists and Trump's Gestapo? Come on, lady, y'all know what the fuck you're doing. Anyway, libs of TikTok, this insane leftist threatens to kill Trump after Charlie Kirk's assassination. Quote, we already killed his friend Charlie Kirk. The next one is Donald Trump. Look at this shit. I think this is in California.
What do you say?
Fuck Donald Trump.
Why do you say that?
Because he's racist and he's a pedophile.
But you know you
look
got
up, look it up. Look it
you
up.
got 3 more years of Trump though.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying he's.
Soon, we already killed his friend.
Whoa.
The next one is Donald Trump.
Uh-oh.
Wait, what's your name?
Next up, you're doing that weird ass shit.
What are you gonna do, buddy? Come here. You walk away, buddy.
Why are you walking away?
Why are you gonna do that?
Let's record this.
No, I'm just filming to protect myself because you're out here threatening.
I have a gun license to protect myself. So what?
No, I'm saying you're threatening me, so I'm filming.
Hey, it's not no threat. It's a promise. That's why you got a fucked up face. You eat your ass so bad.
Democrat is mental illness.
Yep. Another mentally ill
What do you say?
dumbass. All right. Yeah, that's it. Well, that's California for you. California. All right. New York Post. Megyn Kelly schools a student over his blatant Charlie Kirk assassination lie at Virginia Tech TPUSA event. Let's take a look at this. About 30 seconds.
That's a blatant lie. It's a defamatory blaspheme, and it's inappropriate in this setting.
That's not what I said.
We know. Yes, it is.
No, I said he contributed to the political atmosphere.
Well, then you have no point.
tension.
Then your point is utterly empty. Contributing to the atmosphere. This guy was, let's just make clear. This guy was motivated by leftist ideology. We know it from the bullet casings. We know it from the Utah governor.
He's shaking
we know
his
it
head.
from his own mother. Yes, we do.
All right.
That's a blatant lie.
All right. That's all I saw. I'm sure there's probably a longer clip out there somewhere, but that's what I came across. Anyway, so moving on to from the New York Post once again. Trump signs TikTok deal that gives American investors majority control after a very good talk with President Xi. And we got a link here. Check out this article. I think China signed off on it too. I think I read that somewhere. President Trump signed an executive order. Oh, wait, where did it go? Oh, here we go. On Thursday, approving the transfer. Oh, this line, the transfer of the wildly popular video platform's U.S. operations to a consortium of American-based investors, noting he did so after a very good talk with President Xi. Trump, who plans to meet Xi in South Korea on the sidelines next month's APEC summit, told reporters in the Oval Office, quote, we have great American investors prepared to take over TikTok, but did not name all of them. Let's see. The president did highlight the role of Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison. Oh, my God. What's going on with this thing? New York Post, dude. What? Oh, my God. What the fuck? What the hell's going on here? Let me try to refresh it. Dude, it's going nuck and futz. What the hell? All right, hold on. Let me just do this. I've never seen it act that way before. That's very, very weird. All right, just let me try. See if it'll do any better here. I don't know. Okay. So where were we? Okay, so the president did highlight the role of Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison and said that Dell Technologies CEO Michael Dell and Rupert Murdoch, the founder of News Corp, the parent company of the Post, were expected to be involved. I spoke with President Xi, Trump said. We had a good talk. I told him what we were doing, and he said, go ahead with it. Trump, I don't know why they said how old he is, but he vowed that the newly American-run TikTok would treat every philosophy fairly after complaints from U.S. leaders that anti-U.S. content got top billing while the platform was run by Chinese company ByteDance. Yeah, I think that TikTok contributed to a lot of very detrimental things to our culture in many different ways. You know, women against men and whatever. Anyway, so, quote, if I could make it 100% MAGA, I would, but it's not going to work out that way. Unfortunately, no. Everyone's going to be treated fairly, Trump said. Every group, every philosophy, every policy will be treated very fairly. I think I actually have a clip of that, of him saying that. Vice President J.D. Vance, who joined Trump for the Oval Office event, said that TikTok's algorithm in the U.S. will now be controlled by the American investors, clarifying the lease of the technology outlined in the deal. What this deal ensures is that the American entity and the American investors will actually control the algorithm, Vance said. We don't want this used as a propaganda tool by any foreign government. Well, dude, it has been since day one. It has been since day one. That's what they've been doing this whole time, and that's why they should have just absolutely banned TikTok. There's a reason why there's a reason why TikTok is banned in China. It is because it is detrimental to our culture. Anyway, we want to make sure that our people and our investors actually make these decisions based on what's good for their business as opposed to what's good for another government's propaganda arms. Former President Joe Biden signed bipartisan legislation in April of 24 that gave ByteDance the option of reducing its stake in TikTok to 20% or facing a blanket ban inside the United States. I'm actually surprised because TikTok would seem to benefit Democrats a lot more than conservatives and Republicans. The deal serves as a workaround after both Biden and Trump delayed implementation of the ban, with Trump arguing it would increase the power of U.S. social media giants to censor political content. The executive order asserts that the divestiture of the applications outlined in the framework agreement, once its implementation agreements are executed, is a qualified divestiture under the Act. And I think that's all we got. Yeah, so there it is. So it looks like they're finally starting to make a move on TikTok. It's going to fall into American hands. Even though I've got my sneaking suspicions that China somehow... I mean, look, they're not going to own 100% of it. I think ByteDance and the Chinese Communist Party is still going to have a stake in it, aren't they? All right, so we got this from Breaking 911. Reporter, now that Americans will have operational control of TikTok, do you want to see the algorithm suggest more MAGA-related content? And this is where he said that quote that they reference.
Operational control. Do you want to see the algorithm suggest more MAGA-related content prioritized?
I always like MAGA-related. If I could, I'd make it 100% MAGA-related. It's actually a good question, but I would, yeah, if I could make it 100% MAGA, I would, but it's not going to work out that way, unfortunately. No, everyone's going to be treated fairly.
Look, obviously he's saying that tongue-in-cheek. However, the mainstream media, when they write articles about that, you don't actually see him essentially making a joke out of it. They're going to write it to make it sound like that he's an evil fascist dictator.
Every philosophy, every policy will be treated very fairly. Thank you.
There you go. Fairly, equally fair and square. Because, yeah, I'm sure they were probably shadow banning a lot of Republicans on TikTok, but I don't know. You know, I don't really use TikTok, so. All right. Daily Caller. Ex-Democrat lawmaker sentenced for burglary was spotted working at Dunkin' Donuts. Former Democrat Minnesota State Senator Nicole Mitchell was sentenced to 180 days on work release for an incident in 2024 when she broke into her stepmother's home clad in a black cat outfit. And this is from Dustin Grage. Inbox. Former Senator Nicole Mitchell, Democrat, sentenced to 6 months in jail for first-degree burglary, has now been seen on work release at Dunkin' Donuts. Look, there's nothing wrong with working Dunkin' Donuts, but I do find that, you know, kind of funny that she went from being an elected official in state politics to working the counter at Dunkin' Donuts. Very, very interesting. My, oh my, have the mighty have fallen. All right, Fox News, terroristic threat. A man has been arrested and charged after allegedly making social media threats against a Charlie Kirk vigil at the University of Texas, San Antonio. Zaylen Dunbar, 19, allegedly suggested that he planned to use his truck to disrupt the vigil. I think you can fill in the blanks, use your imagination on that. And that was from Fox News about 12 hours ago. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, the United States of America is back. President Trump is solution-driven and will not accept the broken status quo of a failing government. He rightfully called out the UN's failures on immigration, energy, and the economy because that's what real leadership looks like. So he's probably referencing his speech that he gave at the UN, I'm thinking.
President Trump, as you know, Maria, is all about solutions.
From Fox
why
Business.
Have we accepted that things don't work? He asked, like, why is the federal government not delivering for people? Why are our cities unsafe? So he came to New York, and he has great respect for the United Nations, but he called them out for it not working. The president has done 7 peace deals, and the UN never got in contact with him. How does that work? He called out the rest of the world and our allies for their failures, whether it was on immigration, on energy, on their economies, and he excoriated them, but then he said, this is American leadership. Come with us. If you want to, we will lead.
Yeah. Yeah, and very conveniently, they muted his microphone. They kept his microphone turned off so all those world leaders in the room didn't hear a word that Trump said during his entire speech. And you know how I know it was an act of sabotage? Because there was nobody working in like the control booth or someone who was, working all of the electronics and all the microphones. Because look, every single table, they've all got microphones. They got headphones, headsets. So there's quite a lot of electronics goings on happening on the floor of the UN. And nobody ran up to Trump and at least stopped him or at least paused it for a second and then hit the turn on the microphone button. They sabotaged it. They absolutely did. He was up there talking for over an hour. And the microphone was muted to the entire floor the whole time. Not one single person stood up and said, I can't hear you. Because even Melania didn't, nothing. They did nothing. He was muted the whole time. Nobody in that room heard a word that he said throughout the entire thing. And this is why. Because he was calling them out on all their bullshit about how he conducted 7 different peace deals and the UN didn't get involved with a single one of them, not even as much as a freaking phone call.
Maria, this is what American leadership looks like, and I think people missed it for 4 years, whether in the U.S. or on the world stage, and the U.S. is back.
I'll agree with them there, for sure. And Scott Turner, the Trump economy is roaring back with a vengeance
now, on the GDP
CNBC.
side, this is our 3rd time around the block on Q2, and we see a really solid revision, 3.8%. I'm a bit shocked, to be honest. Usually the revisions as you get to 2nd and 3rd become smaller and smaller. So 3.8% would be the best quarter going back to, and we have to go back.
Oh my God, those horrific tariffs, though.
4.4, and that was the 3rd quarter of 23. Now, it is important to point out that if you look at the 1st quarter final, down 0.5%, there's a balance there. But the balance is moving in favor, and momentum is moving in favor for better growth. Now,
all right, so what's that, Democrats, about the tariffs again? About how everything's going to get horrifically expensive and the economy is going to collapse because of Trump's evil, just terrible, horrible tariffs? All right, so we got One America News. Starbucks, they're slashing 900 jobs. They're closing hundreds of stores in a $1 billion restructuring move. This is on One America News Network. And we've got the article here. Let me zoom in a bit so you can read this if you're using a phone to watch this, if you want to read along. Starbucks has announced plans to shutter its more unprofitable locations and slash 900 non-retail positions in order to reconsolidate the company as part of a $1 billion restructuring plan. The closures are expected to reduce the company's store count to about 18,300 locations by the end of fiscal year 25, down from 18,734 as of June 29th. So yeah, they're closing, roughly 500. The announcement made on Thursday noted that the Coffee Giant store count is expected to decrease by 1% within the U.S. and Canada. On Thursday, Starbucks CEO Brian Nicole released a lengthy blog post sent to employees where he notified them of imminent severance and support packages, including benefits extensions. Quote, "We will continue to carefully manage costs and stay focused on the key areas that drive long-term growth. During the review, we identified coffee houses where we are unable to create the physical environment our customers and partners expect, or where we don't see a path to financial performance, and these locations will be closed. Each year, we open and close coffee houses for a variety of reasons, from financial performance to lease expirations. This is a more significant action as we understand the impact partners and customers. Our coffee houses are centers of the community, and closing any location is difficult." I would say mom and pop coffee shops locally are really happy about that. I mean, if they even exist. Usually Starbucks, they'll move in and they'll drive down their own prices in order to price out the mom and pop coffee shops. And once they go out of business, then Starbucks, they'll jack up their prices yet again. Anyway, additionally, the CEO revealed that the corporation is investing in improving customer experience, staffing, and technology. These steps are to reinforce what we see is working and prioritize our resources against them. Early results from coffee house uplifts show customers visiting more often, staying longer, and sharing positive feedback. Where we've invested in more Green Apron partners working at busy times, we saw improvements in transactions, sales, and service times alongside happier, more engaged partners, Nicole wrote. At Starbucks, they saw around a 9% increase in shares since Nicole, the former CEO of Chipotle, became the CEO in August of 24. Stay informed. All right. There you go. That'll be linked if you want to take a look at that again. And from House Homeland GOP border brief, the Trump administration's whole of government border security success. Read more on CBP, ICE, U.S. Coast Guard, FBI's efforts to secure the homeland and our borders with Rep. Garbarino and Rep. Michael Guest, Rep. Pfluger, Rep. Carlos at homeland.house.gov. And here's the border brief. So August fiscal year 2025, I'm assuming the southwest border encounters, that's 9,740. And from 2024, 107,000. But look at this, 2023, 232,963 encounters. Absolutely brutal under Biden. Freaking evil. Anyway, so yeah, there's a lot of data information there. If you want to check that out quickly, I'll just repost it. If you want to check it out over on my profile, I'll leave it, repost it if you want to check it. Or you can go to House Homeland GOP. And again, the article's in the description. From Lee Zeldin, Americans' eyes are wide open to the climate change con job where left-wing policies get advanced that purposefully suffocate our economy and bankroll well-connected Democrats. The reason Hillary Clinton and others on the left get big mad at President Trump for calling this out is because their grift and asinine policies personally enrich themselves and their allied environmental NGOs. That's the hoax. That's the Green News scam. And he's absolutely correct.
I can't believe just years when everybody would say climate change was a third rail. Don't bring it up. The president says it is a hoax. It is a con job. Where do you fall on this?
The president
right.
is absolutely right. And we've seen it in the name of climate change, these left-wing policies willing to cause extreme economic pain for people who can least afford it. We've seen in the name of climate justice grants to $50 million to Climate Justice Alliance. They say that climate justice runs through a free Palestine. In the name of environmental justice, they will have tens of billions of dollars go to their well-connected left-wing former Obama and Biden officials and Democratic donors rather than directly towards environmental remediation, and they're willing to suffocate out entire sectors of our energy economy. And that caused a loss of jobs, higher energy costs. So President Trump is absolutely right. It's something that, with eyes wide open, the Trump mandate is being implemented all year long at the Trump EPA and across the Trump administration. And the rest of the world is taking notice because they're having some of the same problems in their own country.
Right. I just saw, too, some developing countries need food, they need education, they need infrastructure. They ask for wealthier countries, and all they hear back outside the U.S. is, let's do things to make the climate better. And they welcome the president's message of, let's get practical.
Fuck your healthy living. We've got the climate to worry about.
She doesn't agree with you.
Exactly. And that they keep third world countries down, and they don't provide them resources. Well, they can't have resources because if they do, then that'll just contribute to more climate change. So they have to stay poor and desperate.
You know, yesterday at the UN, President Trump said, climate change is a hoax because it's just total disinformation. It's it's a statement that is just not true.
That's all they got. Well, it's just not true. Okay, it's just not true.
And yet being propagated.
So, you want to take her on?
That was a pretty bad rebuttal.
Clinton's friends, the Democratic Party's friends that are getting rewarded with the tens of billions of dollars of U.S. taxpayer money, hard-earned tax dollars that were getting wasted for years. The so-called Inflation Reduction Act, when Democrats had one-party rule.
Yeah, like hundreds of billions of dollars
to these
for green energy.
Environmental NGOs.
Right.
In some cases, going through other pass-throughs, they're all taking their cut. And this is all just a massive con job that the president has shut down.
Absolutely. He has shut it down. But still, they still got paid, though. I mean, they still walked away with millions of dollars. And then you got solar farms like what's going on in California that they're shutting down, that they spent billions of dollars building, and they're shutting them down because there's no return on investment. Turns out, wow, these things actually don't work nearly as good as we thought they would. Which they knew they weren't going to work. They just built it just to enrich themselves. And from Secretary Chris Wright, President Trump is 100% correct. Net zero is a scam. So we'll hear this on CNN.
$5 trillion has been spent over the last 20 years, mostly on wind, solar, batteries, transmission to enable that. It's 2.6% of global energy today.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. $5 trillion and only represents 2.6%. And everyday Americans, have you seen your electric bill go down over the last 10, 15 years? Fuck no.
The main impacts of the pursuit towards net zero have been more expensive energy for all the early movers that have spent money on these forms of energy, Deindustrialization, which means industries leaving Germany, leaving the United Kingdom, leaving Belgium, going to Asia, producing things out of coal instead of natural gas, loading them on diesel-powered ships and bringing them back. Like, that's not a serious climate policy.
No, it's a joke.
And the worst part has been reduced progress in energy access. 2 billion people cook their daily meals today burning wood and dung inside their houses. 2 million needless deaths from that. But yet the climate change movement stridently stands against getting clean cooking fuels and hydrocarbon access to the rest of the world.
Sure does.
That's a scam.
It's a massive scam. Well, we can't have them burning energy because it's just going to make climate change worse. Yeah, but instead they're burning, like you said, cow dung and freaking wood. All right. And from Caroline Levitt, U.S. economy smashed Q2, quarter two forecasts as shoppers went on a spending spree. Not really great news in my opinion. I think people should probably be saving their money, not spending it. But of course, if that happens, the retail industry, the travel industry, there's a lot of sectors of the economy that would suffer if people actually tightened up on spending. But anyway, from the Daily Wire, the economy performed better in the second quarter of 2025 than previously projected, according to the revised statistics released Thursday by the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis. The second quarter, April, May, and June, saw a 3.8% increase in gross domestic product, according to the latest revision. Previously released estimates for growth initially came in at 3% and then at 3.3%. I mean, look, this is good news, especially when it comes to Trump's tariffs, because everybody on the left were saying that spending's going to go way down because everything's going to get way more expensive, inflation's going to get way worse, and not really seeing it. Not seeing it at all, actually. Which, of course, like Q2, I still believe that was before the majority of the tariffs kicked in, but I still think it's just going to still hold true, though. Quote, the increase in real GDP in the second quarter primarily reflected a decrease in imports, which are a subtraction in the calculation of GDP, and an increase in consumer spending, the Bureau said. These movements were partly offset by decreases in investment and exports. The Bureau attributed the increase in GDP primarily to a rise in consumer spending. In the first quarter, GDP declined 0.6% after a surge in imports. Sectors that saw significant growth in the second quarter included finance and insurance, information, non-durable goods, manufacturing, real estate, healthcare, mining, wholesale trade, and construction. Retail trade, federal government, educational services, and local government all saw declining productivity. The White House celebrated the revisions, saying that they reflected the success of President Donald Trump's economic policies. Quote, America's economic resurgence under President Trump continues. Revised data shown even stronger real GDP growth of 3.8% in Q2 2025 thanks to the Trump agenda of tax cuts, deregulation, tariffs, and energy abundance. And this is just the beginning. New data from today also shows core capital goods orders beat expectations, paving the way for robust investment growth in Q3, said White House Deputy Press Secretary Kush Desai. America's, okay, yeah, so basically I already read through that. All right. President Trump pledged to make America wealthy again, and with Joe Biden's inflation crisis tamed, we are now laying the groundwork for a long-term restoration of American greatness. Numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics released earlier this month showed that inflation dropped significantly in August, below what economists had expected. The agency reported that the producer price index came in at 2.6% year over year, far below the 3.3% rise that was forecasted, according to Barron's. So there you go. So overall, it's good news. I just think that, a lot of people are in pretty heavy debt, but yet they keep spending because of the consumer culture that we've been in for a really long time now. All right. So from House Foreign Affairs Committee majority, President Trump has given the Kremlin every opportunity to end its war in Ukraine. Putin balked, and now he will have to explain to the Russian people why their economy is in shambles and why their military is on the losing end of a war that they started.
About Russia maybe not being as tough as it wants people to think it is. This is what the president said at the United Nations about Russia. Listen here.
So we'll see what happens, but the other side can fight too, and they've proven that. Maybe it could be that Russia is a paper tiger.
Could be that Russia is a paper tiger, which, of course, as you can imagine, prompted a response from the Kremlin. Here's what Dmitry Peskov, who was Putin's...
Well, I mean, it kind of begs the question, how come Russia hasn't absolutely obliterated Ukraine yet? I mean, wouldn't they have sent, the full force of the Russian military, since that's really the only war that they're involved in right now? Yeah, I figured that entire conflict would have been over in like a month or two. Like they would have just stormed in by hundreds of thousands of troops and just completely just overrun Ukraine. But they haven't. And it's dragged on for what, 4 years now?
Mouthpiece said about that. Listen here.
Russia is not a tiger, it is a bear, and there was no such thing as a paper bear. So, Russia
Why has it been
is a
dragging
real
on
bear.
for 4 years then?
No such thing as a paper bear. We're not a paper tiger. Russia's a real bear. President Trump said today, oh, look, I would never call Russia a paper tiger, but clearly they've been at this war in Ukraine for 3.5 years now.
Okay, 3.5, sorry.
Thousands of lives lost,
I was
and they
off a
really
little bit.
haven't made any advances. I think the president is probably fed up with Putin. How do you see this ending?
I would agree with you. Number one, president is fed up with
No,
them.
it's
He
4.5
has made
years,
every
isn't it?
effort to
Didn't
be
it start in
an
February of
honest
21?
broker in peace negotiations. He did that, and he is fed up because the Kremlin is not an honest broker in this. He's has every capability to go out there and show exactly how weak Russia really is, and I think you're going to see that with the encroachments into Poland, into Estonia. He's given them the green light. Go out there. If they enter your airspace, knock that item out of the sky, whether it's a drone or a MiG or anything else. I think you're going to see an examination of the weapons systems that go to Ukraine, an ability to make sure that they have a capability to reach inside of Russia by hundreds of miles, maybe with our ATACMS, maybe with the German weapon, the Taurus system, you name it, but
good
something
grief,
to make
man. I
sure
don't
that they
think we
can
really
start
should be
hitting
going that
those
far.
supply chains deeper inside of Russia. That could certainly be a part of it. Russia's economy is in shambles. You said hundreds of thousands lost. That number's probably much more close to 1 million that have been lost, on top of the foreign fighters that they've brought in from places like North Korea. To say that their effort in this war has been totally thwarted by the blunt force and the violence of action that Ukrainians have brought against them, that would be an understatement.
All right. I mean, they also happen to be the most heavily, nuclear armed country on the planet. So I don't know if we really want to back them too far into a corner. Anyway. All right. So this comes from, again, Attorney General Pamela Bondi. As soon as that gets out of the way, Joe Biden's last-minute commutations of death row prisoners are a stain on our justice system and a betrayal of the families of victims. I was honored to host some of those families here at the Justice Department in May. We have begun transferring the monsters Biden commuted to supermax prisons, where they will spend the rest of their lives in conditions that match their egregious crimes. And we got this article from Fox News being transferred to the supermax prison. So, yeah, he wrote off a whole bunch of people that were due to be executed, and now they get to hang on for a lot longer. Anyway, in total, it was 8 federal inmates, once on death row for murders, including the killings of fellow prisoners, gang-related stabbings, and the slayings of 2 campers, have been transferred to a notorious supermax prison in Colorado. Let's see, said the Justice Department. The news comes as U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi looks to crack down on the previous administration's sweeping clemency actions. The 8 former death row inmates were transferred Tuesday to the U.S. Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility in Florence, Colorado, known as ADX, Justice Department officials confirmed. They were among the 37 death row inmates whose sentences Biden commuted in late December. So there were 37 in total, prompting criticism and complaints that the record clemency and commutation actions were done as a political Hail Mary and without proper vetting. More of the death row inmates are expected to be moved to ADX, some within weeks, according to one individual familiar with the matter. The 37 death row inmates commuted by Biden are all expected to be moved to the facility by early next year, the Justice Department source told Fox News Digital. So there's a little bit left to read there, but you can read that yourself if you'd like. I got that linked below, foxnews.com. And finally, I have this from First Lady Melania Trump, fostering the future together. Take a look
Looking
at
out over our city's lights, time feels frozen. Behind each flickering light is a family at home, where parents work tirelessly to unlock brighter futures for their children. I'm establishing Fostering the Future Together, a global coalition of nations committed to well-being of children through the promotion of education, innovation, and technology. We must safeguard healthy environments for our children, protect their personal freedom, their confidence and motivation. Work with me to empower children to achieve new heights across our planet. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very cool. She's also leading the way for AI learning among our school children, which I think is a wonderful thing. It's a really good thing. And that is all I got, ladies and gentlemen. And if you enjoyed the video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me if you subscribe. Just take a quick second and do so. And I'll drop a new show every evening, Monday through Friday, covering the swamp and everyone living in it, the politicians, the bureaucrats, the agencies, and everything else. And I also post daily episodes over on X, so feel free to comment over there too if you'd like. And thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and God bless America.